I was born into rejection. Favor, where is my tea? My mother yelled through the early morning silence, waking me from my sleep. I jumped to my feet, still sleepy, and rushed to the kitchen. My hands shake as I grabbed the kettle, pouring the hot liquid into her favorite mug. My body ached from the previous night's chores, but I dare not show any sign of being tired. Hurry up! You are so slow, just like your useless father. Her anger cut deep. But I swallowed my pain and walked to the sitting room, where she sat on the couch, going through her phone. I handed her the tea with both hands, my head slightly bowed. She took a sip and shouted, "Too much sugar. Are you trying to poison me?" I flinched. "I'm sorry, Mama. Sorry won't fix this, will it?" Before I could react, her hand landed hard against my cheek. The pain sprayed through my face, but I stood still. I'm used to this treatment. At that moment, my younger sister Tochi walked into the living room, stretching her arms dramatically. Unlike me, she had the luxury of sleeping in. She had never once been woken up to do chores. "Mom, I want fried eggs and sausages for breakfast," she announced, sitting on the couch beside our mother. "Of course, my darling." My mother's tone shifted into one of warmth and affection. "Favor, you heard your sister. Get to it." I nodded quickly and hurried back to the kitchen, my eyes stinging with unshed tears. It wasn't fair. It had never been fair. By the time breakfast was ready, I barely had time to get ready for work. I placed the plates of food before them and watched as Tochi devoured hers greedily while Mama scrolled through her phone, laughing at something. I knew better than to expect them to ask me if I had eaten. My stomach rumbled, but I ignored it. I was used to going without food. Grabbing my worn-out handbag, I muttered a goodbye and rushed out the door. Outside, the early morning air greeted me with a cool embrace. I took a deep breath and started my usual walk to the bus stop. The roads were already busy with activities. Hawkers shouting about their goods, cars honking impatiently, and school children chatting excitedly. For a brief moment, I imagined myself among them, young, carefree, and hopeful for the future. But reality pulled me back. There was no uni for me. Mama had made it clear, there is no money. We will work and help the family. So, instead of a school bag filled with books, I carried the weight of responsibilities far beyond my years. By the time I arrived at Williams Enterprise, I was breathless from the hurry. I quickly fixed my uniform and straightened my hair before stepping into the lobby. "Good morning, Favor," Lisa, my colleague, greeted with a warm smile. "Good morning, Lisa," I forced a smile back. My desk was my little heaven, a place where I was treated like an actual human being. Here, I wasn't bad luck or a burden. I was just Favor, a hard-working receptionist. My duties were simple: answer calls, schedule meetings, and assist visitors. It wasn't glamorous, but it was the only thing keeping me sane. Sometime during the morning, Mr. Williams, the CEO, walked through the entrance. He was a man of quiet authority, but unlike most bosses, he acknowledged his staff. "Good morning, Favor," he said, pausing at my desk. "Good morning, sir," I replied, a little nervous. He studied me for a moment. "Have you ever considered furthering your education?" I blinked, caught off guard. I would love to, sir, but my mother says there is no money." He nodded thoughtfully. "If given the opportunity, would you take it?" My heart pounded. "Yes, sir," without hesitation. He smiled. "Let's talk more after work." For the first time in years, a flicker of hope ignited in my heart. When I got back home, I walked through the front door, already bracing myself for whatever awaited me. "Where have you been?" Mama's voice rang out before I even stepped into the living room. "Work ran late, Mama," I said, keeping my voice even. "Liar, you are probably out there disgracing me, just like your useless father did." I bit my tongue. Arguing was pointless. Mama looked at the clock. What are you waiting for? Go and clean the house, do the laundry and make dinner. I nodded and started on my task. By the time I was done scrubbing the floors, my arms felt like lead. I barely had enough energy to stand, but I still had to cook dinner. As I stirred the pot of soup, Tochi, my sister, walked into the kitchen. "You missed a spot in the living room," she said, making a face. I clenched my fist. "I will clean it later." "You better," she smirked. I longed to yell at her, to tell her how unfair this was. But what was the point? Mama would always take her side. After dinner, I finally retreated to my small corner of the house. My father, Mr. Fred, was the only one who ever showed me kindness, but he was growing weaker by the day. His sickness had drained his strength, and yet he still tried to reassure me. "Favor," he called softly as I passed his room. I stepped in. "Yes, Papa." He studied me with sad eyes. "Come here, my child." I sat beside him and he reached for my hand. "One day, you will have a better life." I wanted to believe him, but how? Tears welled in my eyes as I whispered, "I hope so, Papa. I really do." That night, I had the same recurring dream. I was a little girl crying in a corner while Mama's voice thundered above me. "You ruined my life. You are bad luck." I woke up with the gasp, my heart racing. I wiped the sweat from my forehead and hugged my knees to my chest. I was tired of being unwanted, tired of being treated like I was nothing. But deep down, I held on to hope, because one day I would find a way out, and when I did, I would never look back. The days blurred into each other as I balanced work and the never-ending chores at home. Each morning, I woke up before dawn, swept the compound, cleaned the house, and made breakfast, all before heading to the company where I worked as a receptionist. My mother and sister Tochi barely stirred from their sleep. By the time I left the house, and by the time I returned, the entire house was a mess, waiting for me to clean up again. "Favor, why is my dress not ironed?" My mother's sharp voice cut through the evening air as I entered the house. I sighed, already exhausted from the long day at work. "Mama, I left early this morning. You could have ironed it yourself." A loud slap landed on my cheek before I could react. "You useless girl, you have no respect. If you don't want to live under my roof, get out." I held my cheek, swallowing the lump forming in my throat. I wanted to ask her why she hated me so much, but I knew the answer wouldn't change anything. Instead, I turned around, dragging my tired body towards the kitchen to start making dinner. Tochi walked in, flipping her hair dramatically. "I want fried rice tonight," she declared. I clenched my fists but said nothing. I knew my refusal would only lead to more trouble, so I cooked what she wanted, even though I was too tired to eat myself. At work, things were different. Mr. Alex, the CEO, had taken an unusual interest in me. He often stopped by the reception desk, asking me how I was coping. At first, I thought it was just kindness, but then he started leaving extra money for me, claiming it was for transport. One day, he walked up to my desk and leaned against it with a warm smile. "Favor, have you considered my offer of going back to the university?" I froze. I want to, sir, but my mother says there is no money. She wants me to work to help the family." He studied me for a moment before nodding. "What if I told you I could help? Would you go?" My heart pounded. "You mean pay for my school fees?" "Yes, I believe in you, Favor. You deserve better. Think about it." Tears burned my eyes. No one had ever offered me such kindness before. Could this be real? Later that night, I gathered the courage to tell my mother. "Mama, my boss said he could help me go to the university." She snorted. "And why would he do that? Are you his daughter?" Maybe he just wants to help me. She grabbed my arm roughly. Listen to me, you wretched girl. You are not going anywhere. You will stay here and continue working to support this family. Do you hear me? Tears streamed down my face. I looked at my father, hoping he would intervene, but he was too sick to say much. He just gave me a weak smile and whispered, "One day, Favor, one day, things will be different." I clung to those words as my mother stormed away. I didn't know how, but I vowed that one day I would escape this life. The days that followed Mr. Alex's offer were filled with restless nights and unanswered questions. The idea of uni felt like a dream, but my mother's firm refusal was a harsh reminder of my reality. I lay on my tiny mattress, staring at the ceiling as Tochi snored softly beside me. She had the luxury of a proper bed, while I slept on a mat in the corner of our small room. I sighed, knowing that if I stayed in the house much longer, I might never escape. The next morning, I made breakfast as usual, served my mother and Tochi, and rushed off to work. Mr. Alex was waiting near the reception when I arrived, his hands in his pocket. "You look tired," he observed, his eyes filled with concern. I forced a small smile. "I am fine, sir." He leaned closer. "Have you thought about my offer?" I hesitated before nodding. "I want to go to school, sir, but my mother won't let me." His expression darkened. "What if I spoke to her?" I swallowed hard. "She won't listen, sir. She sees me as a burden." Mr. Alex sighed, tapping his finger against the counter. "You deserve better, Favor. If you let me, I can help you." Something about his words made my heart ache. No one had ever believed in me like this. That evening, I gathered the courage to bring up the topic again. "Mama, Mr. Alex wants to pay my school fees. Please, just give me a chance." My mother's eyes flashed with anger. "Do you think that I am stupid? Why would a rich man help a poor girl like you? You must have done something to make him offer this." "No, Mama, I swear, he just wants to help me." A sharp slap landed across my cheek. "You are not going anywhere," she screamed. "You will stay here and continue working for this family." I held my burning cheek, fighting back tears. I turned to my father, silently pleading for help. He sighed, shaking his head. "Let her go, Gloria. She deserves a future." My mother's expression hardened. If she walks out of this house for that school, she should never return. Silence filled the room. My heart pounded. Could I really leave? Could I abandon the only home I had ever known? My father took my hand gently. "Go, my child. I will always be proud of you." Tears slipped down my cheeks as I nodded. I would leave. I had to. The next morning, I packed the few belongings I had and left the house without looking back. I felt like a prisoner escaping from chains, but there was still a deep ache in my heart. Mr. Alex was waiting for me outside my workplace. When he saw my small bag, he frowned. "Are you sure about this?" I nodded. "I have no choice, sir." He sighed before smiling softly. "Then let's make sure you never regret it." And just like that, my life began to change. Leaving home was the hardest decision I have ever made, but I had no regrets. I knew my mother would never forgive me, but for the first time, I felt free. Mr. Alex arranged for me to stay in a small apartment near the uni. I spent my days attending lectures, studying, and working part-time at his company to support myself. One evening, after a long day of class, I received a call from my father. His voice was weak. "Favor, I need to see you." Fear gripped my heart. "Papa, what's wrong?" "I don't have much time, my child," he whispered. "Please, come home." I rushed back home the next morning, my heart pounding. When I stepped into the house, my mother and Tochi sat in silence. My father lay on the bed, his once strong body frail and weak. He reached for my hand. "Favor, there is something you need to know." Tears filled my eyes. Papa, please, don't talk like this. His fingers trembled as he held my. I am not your biological father. My breath caught in my throat. What? He sighed. Your mother was pregnant before we married. The man responsible abandoned her. But I raised you as my own because I loved you. Tears spilled down my face. I turned to my mother, but she lowered her gaze. Is this true? Yes, she nodded. A storm of emotion raged inside me. Anger, betrayal, pain. I have spent my entire life suffering under her cruelty, and now I understand why. My father squeezed my hand weakly. I am sorry I never told you, but know that I always loved you. Sobs cracked my body as I clung to him. I love you too, Papa. He smiled weakly. That's all I needed to hear. And then, with a final breath, he was gone. The funeral was quiet. My mother barely spoke to me. But then, a week later, something unexpected happened. Mr. Alex came to visit. When my mother saw him, her face turned pale. What are you doing here? He stared at her, his expression unreadable. I came for favor. My mother frowned. Why? He exhaled slowly. Because she's my daughter. The room went silent. My heart nearly stopped. What? Mr. Alex turned to me, his eyes filled with regret. I abandoned your mother when she was pregnant. I was young and foolish. I didn't believe her when she told me the baby was mine. I felt the air leave my lungs. You left her? He nodded. Yes, and I regret it every single day. My mother's lips trembled. Why now? Why did you come back now? He looked at me. Because I met favor. And I knew there was something about her. When I learned the truth, I couldn't ignore it anymore. Tears ran down my face. You are my father. He took a step closer. Yes, and I want to make things right, if you will let me. I glanced at my mother. For the first time in my life, she looked ashamed. She turned to me, her eyes filled with something I had never seen before. Guilt. Favor, I am sorry. I stared at her, searching for sincerity. I treated you badly because I blamed you for everything. I believe you brought me bad luck. My life came to a pause after I had you. I believe you brought me bad luck, she admitted. But it wasn't your fault, my child. The pain in my heart was overwhelming, but I knew I had to move forward. I wiped my tears and turned to Mr. Alex. I need time, I whispered, but I want to know you. He nodded, smiling softly. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had a choice, and I chose to move forward. Not for my mother, not for Mr. Alex, but for me. So, I forgave everybody. The end. Thank you so much for watching this story to the end. I'm glad you did. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more interesting stories like this one. See you in my next video. Bye.